Man, what a shit show this was. Johnny had his name dragged through the mud for years, thanks to a woman so soulless that, and I think I can say this with some authority, is probably the physical embodiment of a portal to hell. She managed to make his life an absolute misery. And since their relationship began in 2011 and ended in 2016, you have to wonder, at what point did it go wrong? At what point did Johnny become the battered husband? At what point did it become clear to him that he had to escape and that she was going to try and drive him to an early grave? He said that it was his mother's death that gave him the clarity to realise that he had to get out. Amber liked her relationships toxic. Whether she was beating up on her girlfriend or hitting her husband, she appears to have thrived on drama and seemed to be unable to have a normal relationship. Now, I'm sure that she has some good points, and I'm also sure that we can all imagine what Johnny might have seen in her before it turned out that she was completely crazy and was willing to destroy his career simply because he was no longer able to put up with her and her antics. I don't think the word antics is the right word. Antics makes it sound kind of playful, as though it was the sort of thing that small children might get up to. No, what Amber did is accuse Johnny of some of the worst things possible, all the while being the perpetrator of those things. The fact that she was willing to go so far as to accuse him of sexual abuse is quite staggering, especially in the light of the fact that even with this whole hashtag MeToo stuff, not one person leveled anything at Johnny. Instead, people have always spoken about how generous, polite and reserved, almost shy he is at times. And not one of his previous girlfriends has had one single bad thing to say about him. Even after a 10-year relationship with Vanessa Paradis, she had nothing bad to say about him. No anecdote about how once in a drug-fueled rage he slapped her. No stories about how alcohol made him aggressive. No little details about him trying to grope groupies. Absolutely nothing. That is, until Amber comes along, and then suddenly the monster is released. And he goes to town on her, fists flying, harsh language, bottles ending up in places the manufacturers had never intended. For some unknown reason, none of this occurred until Johnny met a certain Aquaman starlet. That is a terrible impersonation of Tugs, I'm sorry. And then it was cry havoc and release the dogs of war. Now the idea that we should believe all women was nonsense from the start. I'm sure we can believe a large percentage of women, but the remaining numbers should be treated with suspicion because at least half of all people are untrustworthy. Whether it's because their memories aren't reliable, or if it's because they have drank too much and aren't entirely sure of what they did, or if they are now embarrassed and don't want to take responsibility for their actions, or whether they took rejection badly. After all, we've all woken up the next morning, head aching, looked over at the other side of the bed and thought, "Oh dear God, what the hell was I thinking?" And then try to sneak quietly away and pretend that it never happened, which is not always a unanimous opinion and can leave the other person feeling hurt and rejected. Or they fall into the category of, and this is generally a much smaller number, vindictive and evil and will do anything to destroy the object of their ire. I will let you make up your own mind as to which category Amber might fall into, though I'm fairly sure I can figure out which is going to be the most popular choice. Johnny has had a charmed life in many ways, bar his childhood, which was far from idyllic, and seems to have managed to only go out with girls who are generally sane, which I'm sure comes as a shock to most of you guys watching this out there, because women as a rule are universally crazy, and managing to get through life without meeting one that cuts up your clothes and makes voodoo dolls of you when you leave them for a different model, that doesn't sit up at night clutching a carving knife and mumbling about, "Mine, my precious," is just damn lucky and almost unbelievable. Normally, these girls are happy to have simply caused you physical harm, and to have poured paint stripper over your car, and screamed at you in the street in front of all of your neighbours, and then they move on to the next poor bastard. But Johnny sadly had the misfortune to meet one of those 10 on the crazy scale women that aren't happy until you are dragged naked through the street, smeared in excrement, while a man with a bullhorn screams to the world all the things about you that you would rather have kept to yourself. And then, to make the humiliation complete, a huge number of defamatory lies are mixed in, just to make sure that people understand they should hate, detest and shun you forevermore. This is Amber. She chose the most likely thing at the time to cause the maximum damage with the least evidence required, because, as we have seen, while the MeToo movement has unearthed some very nasty people, it has also hurt a great many innocent people. People who wouldn't, or couldn't, for whatever reason, or didn't, have the ability to fight back and clear their name. They were silenced by a media that wouldn't allow men to defend themselves, wouldn't have reported on it even if they did, and they were kicked off social media and their voices taken from them. And they tried to do this to Johnny too, but unluckily for them, Johnny isn't your average guy. Yes, they may have managed to damage his career, but unlike many other men, Johnny has money, and money allows you to have a voice even in times when people are screaming at you to shut up. If Amber had stuck to just spreading rumours, I'm sure that she could have managed to do untold damage to Johnny. But that wasn't good enough for her. She has a need for publicity. She wants to be seen. She wants the credit. She wants Johnny to know that she destroyed him for having the temerity to want something better than her from life. So she wrote her op-ed, and in doing so destroyed herself. She gave Johnny something to fight, a way to make his voice heard, a chance to right the many wrongs that had been perpetrated against him. And because he has the money to do it, he took her to court, and after a 6-week trial that had all of us glued to YouTube, either watching live or watching people like Nick Recader or That Umbrella Guy and any other number of law tubers giving us detailed analysis in real time, it was a big circus, and Johnny with Ben Chu and Camille Vasquez bringing the thunder and putting everything out in the open, allowing sunlight to disinfect Amber Heard's lies and accusations. The jury came back after what we all believed was probably not the hardest deliberation they had ever had to do. I imagine choosing what they had for breakfast was a more difficult decision, but the decision, while easy from an external point of view at least, has far-reaching important effects that the lamestream legacy media are still trying to spin into something it is not. What it is not is an attack on women trying to get justice for abuse they may have received at the hands of men. What it is not is a sign that rich, powerful men can get away with things because they can hire better lawyers. What it is not is an indictment of a legal system that manages to blame the victim. And the reason why it is not any of these things is because those pushing these nonsense arguments are doing so from the position of believe all women, regardless of how insane and demented they may be. Believe all women, even when they are spouting the most insane, unbelievable, unsubstantiated lies. Believe all women because they are invested in this statement, a statement that holds no water and is designed to demonize men and take away their right to a fair hearing. The courts already do this. We have seen with the state of divorce courts where vindictive evil women, who are considerably less reliable and responsible than the father of their children, are given full custody, based purely on a legal bias that has disenfranchised men and put children at risk for decades. The important and empowering effect that this case has had is to highlight the plight of men. Men who are being abused by their partners or spouses is an oft-ignored subject that even men themselves tend to shy away from. Whether it's because it is emasculating, or whether it's because we are taught from birth to be stoic and not to complain about the things that hurt us, or whether it is simply because we don't think that we'll be believed in a society that seems intent on doing as much mental and legal harm as possible. Johnny's case shines a light on something that society needs to have a much deeper look at and needs to take much more seriously, and that is the treatment of men by the law and society in general when they are the ones that have been victimized by women. And unbelievably, it still seems that Amber wants to go further. She refuses to take the L and move on, and see if maybe she can salvage her career, if not her reputation, which will remain in the gutter for many years to come, and deservedly so. She may not have lost her part in Aquaman 2, but she certainly doesn't appear to be getting any other roles right now. And if she continues to try to perpetrate her story, she is soon going to find herself fighting yet another defamation case, and this time I expect even less people are going to be willing to support her, publicly or privately. And yet she still wants to appeal and have round 2 of the current case, which, when you realise that she really must be as crazy as we all thought she was, makes perfect sense. Because she cannot let go, she cannot allow that she was wrong, that she was the bad guy, that she needs to pay for her mistakes the way the rest of us have to. She thinks that she is better than that, better than us, better than everybody, and she will not be happy as long as she is doubted and demonised and distrusted. She puts herself on a pedestal and is incensed that we don't all do the same. Johnny did make a mistake, and it was a huge one, a life-changing one, that could eventually have cost him his life. He misjudged the character of Amber Heard. It is understandable, she may be bad at acting, but she is attractive, and she no doubt plays a half-decent version of herself. Enough so that she managed to fool Johnny into believing that she was someone he could love, cherish, and spend the rest of his life with. I feel very sorry for Johnny Depp. He had his life completely ruined, his career taken away. He probably even saw a little doubt in the eyes of the people that he loves, which I imagine must have hurt more than anything. But he pushed through. He cleared his name, he fought the good fight, and came through it smelling of roses with his hands clean and wearing a nicely pressed suit. We all know that he isn't perfect, and that he has many issues and many demons of his own to face up to, but he exorcised the biggest one. And while she may not have gone back to the pit from whence she came, he is at least safe in the knowledge that now we can all see her for what she really is, and that he can get on with getting his life back on track and spending time with his family and friends. Good luck, Johnny. I, for one, am looking forward to seeing what this wiser Johnny will do in the future. This has been Movie Suck, hoping that whatever trouble we may find ourselves in as we meander down the river of life, we find the courage and conviction to extricate ourselves, or at least ask for help if we need it, and don't allow others to silence us and beat us down, just because they don't like the truth that we have to say. Signing out. Leave a like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.